the Nappy Dreamer.
And I'm Kia Blaine.
And we are the Melanin Mindset. Try one more time. What's good, everybody, and welcome if it's your first time viewing. Welcome back if you're returning. I'm the Nappy Dreamer.
And I'm Kia Blaine.
And we are the Melanin Mindset. So listen, if you're not already plugged in with us everywhere that you can be plugged in, go ahead and hit that subscribe button over on YouTube. Turn on those notification bells, give this a thumbs up, and hit share. So you want to send this to someone you absolutely care about so that they can be in on tonight's conversation. They don't want to miss this one, okay? Find us out on Facebook, The Melanin Mindset, Instagram and Twitter, Melanin Mindset _ and good old TikTok at The Melanin Mindset. All right, y'all. So yes, you want to make sure that you're plugged in however you can plug in, wherever you can plug in, so that you can stay connected with the Melanin Mindset. So friend, that was it. That's what I got. That was my part. You go ahead and do yours.
Hey, y'all. So welcome. As the title says, today we will be unpacking some stuff. The white savior complex, to be exact. So if you have somehow lived under a rock and don't know what a white savior complex is, good news for you. We're coming in. Oh, you want to do a disclaimer first? I don't have a disclaimer. I don't come with a disclaimer. You know what you're signing up for when you tune in. So
that
go
part.
Go ahead and do the disclaimer, friend.
If you are easily offended, if you are uncomfortable with what you see in our subject line this evening, please go ahead and change tonight. This episode may not be for you. I didn't give a shout out to those who are listening to us on Spotify, iHeart, and other podcast outlets. Thank you so much for being legit. Feel free to comment here as well to let us know different topics you'd like to hear coming from the Melanin Mindset. So again, if you are uncomfortable with what you see in the subject line, it's very strong possibility that you should not be here this evening. So that is the last call for that one, friend. Go ahead.
Okay. I think if you're offended by the title, you should stay. So you can learn yourself something. But anyway, the white savior complex. This refers to a phenomenon where individuals from privileged or dominant groups, often white people, attempt to save or help individuals from marginalized or oppressed groups, usually people of color, in a condescending and paternalistic manner. So almost putting yourself in a position of a narcissistic parent when it may not be warranted. So some of the ways people, and it's not to say that it's always a bad thing, but you can tell when someone is doing it for their own personal gain.
Facts.
Whether the personal gain is that they're somehow it makes them feel better over something that they feel guilty about, and that's probably the most common way white savior complex comes into play. It's like, you feel guilty for slavery, or you feel guilty for how your parents were towards people of color, and now you come in and you're so adamant about helping or whatever. And some ways, they do things and it seems like it's great, but it's really for their own monetary benefits. So the benefits can range from something as simple as it makes me feel better, so we should be happy for me helping because now you seem like a good person where I thought you were crap before. And some of the ways it comes off in mainstream is volunteer work, missionary work. A lot of these, I'm not saying missionary work is bad, but there's a lot of people out here just pushing their own agenda onto other people and calling it mission work.
That part.
Media manipulation, when we know a certain group of people or a certain organization does not have the best interests of melanated people at heart, and yet media is showing all the great things they're doing for all the little colored kids. So media tends to manipulate and definitely uh pushes the white savior complex narrative. You agree, friend?
Absolutely.
Hmm.
Absolutely.
um you want me to keep going?
Yep.
Okay. So historically, I feel like I'm just going to say the same thing again. Another thing, the thing that brought the topic up was the whole Michael Orr situation. The movie The Blind Side was definitely could fall under this white savior complex. The problem is I didn't watch the movie. That's kind of why I was nodding to my friend just now, because she was going to go to the movie, right? But I did read his most recent book, which actually has nothing to do with this.
Okay, okay.
But he did kind of go through his story, which is why I'm curious to know what the movie was about.
Oh, I got you. I got you. And I got a few.
Because as I read the book, I wasn't getting any of that narrative. He didn't really talk about that family at all,
Mm.
other than to say the way he mentioned them in this book was like a family I was staying with at the time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, there's so much more to the movie The Blind Side. So I'm gonna give some perspective there, friend, and I'll leave some space open for dialogue. So y'all, if y'all familiar with the movie, please go ahead and comment down below and let us know that you've seen The Blind Side and give us your perspective on what you think was going on with that movie. So here we go. So first thing that happens in the movie, and like she said, the white savior complex. In other words, non-melanated people coming to the rescue. And this is not to slight one side or the other. We're just looking at it for face value, y'all. Okay.
Hmm.
So with Michael Orr in The Blind Side, there's a family called the Tuohys. And like she said, there's currently a lawsuit pending surrounding the Michael Orr situation. Homie just found out in February that apparently he was never really adopted.
Yeah.
Okay. So the story starts out with, this young man. He decides that he wants to apply to go to a particular school. The school doesn't want to take him because his grades is trash. And they think that he's delayed or mentally incapacitated. Okay. The coach there is like, well, if we're Christians,
Okay, let's slow down because we could compare now. At this point, we can compare notes. So
okay.
you say in the movie, because that was something he did say in the book, that because of the movie, it didn't allow space for people to get to know him because they already felt like they knew him. Like the
Mm.
movie created this image of underprivileged, illiterate, um, black man that didn't really have a chance until these people gave him a chance.
Oh, wow.
And he said a lot of times when he would meet people, he would try not he wouldn't even say who he was. He never introduced himself as Michael Orr. He never told people that he played for the NBA. When he met people like on a regular how you meet people, he would just say, I'm Michael.
Mm.
And sometimes people would figure out exactly who he was, but oftentimes, he would just try to keep it because everybody had this already.
A preconceived notion about who he
Yes,
was.
of who he was.
Uh, so the Tuohys take him in, right? And I know that's a fast forward moment. The coach was just like, if we're a Christian institution, we should give a hand. So we shouldn't be writing him off like everybody else did. So I'm gonna put, because you said he didn't even talk about the Tuohys in his book.
He did, but not to the extent of like how it seems, because like I said, I didn't see it. How it seems like this movie was, because he actually went to the Christian school before he met the Tuohys.
Right. That's how the movie goes too.
Okay.
Yeah, the movie goes
So
the same way.
another foster parent he was with got him into the Christian school.
Oh, wow. Okay. And that's
So
not how it's portrayed.
yeah, so he was in a foster home, and this particular foster dad was putting his son in this school, and he had another foster child, so he figured, well, why the heck not? Let me see if I could get him in this school too.
Girl, that is not how the movie goes. So he
So that
goes
was, what's the
and
name of that school?
I don't remember the name of the school.
Briar? Was
I
it
didn't put
Briar
that in my
something?
notes.
Briar something? Mm-hmm.
Mm-mm.
But
So
go
he
ahead.
goes, and so the coach is like, "Well, if we're a Christian establishment, we should be willing to help people out, and if we're not, we might as well erase Christian out of our name, whatever."
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, fast forward, he gets accepted into the school. The teachers are complaining. So his first interaction with Leanne, which is the mom, Leanne Tui, is because the little boy SJ, which is their son, the Tui son,
Mm-hmm.
he knows who he called Big Mike, right? He knew Big Mike. And so when he knew Big Mike, he says to his mom, like, "Hey, that's Big Mike," right? Because she saw him talking to him. Then later on, they're driving down the road after he does his performance as the chief. Well, he wasn't the chief. He didn't get the chief. He was an Indian.
Mm.
SJ was. And they were riding home. When they're riding home, they see a boy walking down the street. And the mom says, "Where's he going? It's so cold." And they stop at a stop sign, and then she's like, "Wait." And she gets out of the car because she's calling to him like, "Where are you going?" She
Mm-hmm.
stops him and she says to him, "Where are you going?" He says, "The gym." "Why are you going to the gym?" "The school is closed." He says, "Because it's warm there." And then she
Mm-hmm.
says to him in the movie, this is a quote from the movie, she says, "Don't you dare lie to me. Do you have somewhere to go tonight?" And he's like, "Well, no." And she tells him to get in the car. That's kidnapping. He was a minor. She told
Mm-hmm.
him to get in her car and she drove away with this man. So that's her first interaction with Michael Orr in the movie The Blind
Mm-hmm.
Side. So how does the book describe his first interaction with the Tuohys?
Okay, so I the first book I didn't read. The first book I think is more based on the movie. The first book came out based on the movie.
Mm-hmm.
This book that he just came out with, and I really feel like it just came out like last week, is more of his story about how to fight and work hard even though you may be in adverse situations. So he doesn't dive into this. It's not the focus of the book at all.
Mm.
Like I really, and I listened to it now. I listened to it high speed because I was trying to hurry up and listen to it before we went live today. So I'm pretty sure I missed some things, but the whole he talked about football a lot. He talked about how his passion was basketball
Mm.
and that his coach was the one who told him, you know, you're good at basketball, but football is going to take you far.
Okay.
His
So
So his coach was the one who encouraged him to focus more on football. Now, he did track and field, football, and basketball. Basketball was his passion. And he was good at it too. If you look at his stats when he was in high school and college, I think, because he played both in high school
he
and
went all
college,
American. So
he
I'm
was
sure he played a
good.
couple things.
He was good at both. But yeah, they knew football and the NFL. I guess I don't know if they knew or they pushed him to focusing on getting in the NFL.
Mm. So basically, in the movie, though, what ends up happening is the mom brings him home, like I said, gives him somewhere to sleep. She wakes up, the blankets is folded, he's walking away. She stops him and brings him back home. And I'm giving a fast track so I can catch up to your book, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So she goes out, tells him to come back in the house. He comes in, she asks him, does he have any clothes, things like that. Does he like to shop? And then she's like, she's gonna show him how to shop. So again, fast forward, they get ready to go shopping. He says, I have clothes. She tells him, well, a shirt and a bag does not a wardrobe make. That's what she says in
Mm-hmm.
the movie. So he's like, well, I have clothes at home. She takes him over to the house. Now, okay, in the movie, they paint him as being in the absolute most rundown environment imaginable. Okay, so the environment that he was currently living in was probably the most rundown environment imaginable.
Mm.
And when she takes him there, dramatically, there is an eviction notice on the door. He goes to the side of the building, squats down, and looks like
So
he's
whose
about to cry.
eviction notice was it though?
I don't even know who he lived with. It doesn't specify that in the movie.
Because now in the book and according to his Wikipedia, he was in foster care from the age of 7 on.
And that's what it says in the movie too. So
So
apparently
then
he
was
was
he at a
with.
foster parent's house who was run down like that?
No, what was happening is, according to the movie, so I'm gonna skip some stuff then. So he met a couple of teachers who were willing to invest in him, and basically what took place is when Sandra Bullock or Leanne Tui goes
Mhm.
down to the DCF to try to get him, some help. They say he's a ward of the state. He was separated from his mom in a chaotic fashion when he was 7. His mom
Mhm.
is on drugs and the mother of 12 random children. Okay,
Mhm. Mhm.
and so then Sandra Bullock or Leanne Tui goes and finds his mother, tells
Tear in my eye.
his mother says his last name was Williams because when she tried to get him a license, he wasn't coming up in the system. So
Mhm.
she admits to her that his last name was Williams because unfortunately, again dramatically, she don't know who her baby daddy is. So
But
that's
he didn't know. Okay, so on his birth certificate it was Williams, and
no,
he
they didn't have a birth certificate. They didn't have anything, any record of anything.
how?
Right. So when she went to try to ask for Michael Orr to get stuff for Michael Orr, it was the lady at the counter in this movie was saying, "Oh well, he's not coming up. We can't find any record of him." Blah blah blah. So then when she goes, which doesn't equal up, because then she goes to DCF and they tell her they got a whole case on him, this, that, and the third. He was separated from his mom at 7, but they don't have a whole lot of information. But somehow Leanne Tui, with her wherewithal, goes and finds this boy's mother, and the mother then admits to her she don't know who his daddy is, but his name is Michael Williams.
Mhm.
But they ended up getting him, whatever information, and got him an ID and all that good jazz under Michael Orr because that was his mom's last name. So they let him keep Orr. But the mom said his last name, he was born under Williams. So how in the math does that happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't
Right.
know. Sounds interesting.
Now listen, 42 minutes into the movie and nobody had asked him yet. Now, you shared in his book he talked about how he was always passionate about sports. But in this movie, we were at 42 minutes into the movie and still nobody has asked this man if he even cares about football.
Yeah, see something about the story, and this is where the whole white savior complex comes into. Something about this story seems like these people, these non-melanated people, saw this big black man and said, "Oh, he got to be athletic, and let's push him to be athletic so that he could be the star." And the everything he says throughout the book, he says like, "I wasn't the best. You know, I had to work 10 times as harder as the other athlete who just naturally had a high metabolism and kept in shape. I had to I showed up early every day." Like he talks about that, how much harder he had to work to become that star athlete. So how do you take someone who he loved basketball, he did say he loved basketball, but how do you take someone, and how does him not really having a passion for football, all of a sudden he's on the NFL? Because now we know
Right.
there's kids that are great at football who would love to go to the NFL and have, pretty decent resources to be scouted into the NFL. And a lot of them don't make it. So what was so different about him? Because he was a good player. He wasn't a great player. He was a,
Now,
you know,
the movie does portray him as a sucky football player, but then the movie also portrays that the Tui family whipped him into shape so that he was a accomplished football player. So the movie shows him as a gentle giant and he wasn't willing to really cause any harm or hurt to anybody. So in the movie they kind of presented him in that fashion, and then they
mhm.
show the Tui, Leanne Tui, which is the mom, going down to him and saying, "Protect that team is your family now. Protect them like you would protect me and SJ and Collins and Mr. Tui. So protect them like you protect us." And that's how it's portrayed in the movie, that she gives him that motivation, which is what makes him just take off and be this amazing defensive, person on the field.
And now, if I had to say what the vibe was from the book was because of his situation. early on in life, he knew he had to do certain things to get ahead. So
Mm-hmm.
I could see, and then I'm not going to jump too far. So I could see him seeing this as an opportunity, especially if I'm somebody who's living in the street, don't have nowhere to sleep. Okay, these people want to give me somewhere to sleep. Of course, I'm gonna go. And if I
Right.
want to keep that situation, all right, yeah, I'm gonna do what they want me to do. Cause really, right now, I don't have many other options.
Right. And in the movie, she asked him, "Do you want to stay here with us?" Right? "Do you want to stay here with us?"
Mhm.
He was like, "Well, I don't want to go anywhere else." That was his response in the movie. Do you want to live here? Do you want to stay? And he's like, "Well, I don't want to be anywhere else." That was his response in the movie.
Mhm.
So that was kind of
Because
weird.
where else was he gonna go?
That part. Homie ain't have nowhere else to go.
He
According to
didn't
the
have
movie,
anywhere else
where
to
he was
go.
staying, he got evicted. So that was
Mhm.
over.
Yeah.
But then, girl, fast forward even more. Does he talk about the Christmas card in the book? Because in the movie, they get ready to take these pictures, and I wish I would have transferred the image over here so I could show reality
Mhm.
versus movie. But they
Mhm.
put him in this photo so that he could take a picture with the family at Christmas time. The husband was like, "What are you doing?" She goes, "It's not like I'm about to send it out as the Christmas card." And then she sends it as the Christmas card. And then someone
Mm.
named Cousin Bobby, when she comes in from the grocery store, Cousin Bobby has left a voicemail. She plays it on speaker. Cousin Bobby says, I'm going to quote from the movie. He says, um, Cousin Bobby here. I am a brew or two in at this time, but
Oh,
did you
dang.
realize, he says, did you realize that there is a big colored boy on your Christmas card?
Wait, is it this one where they got on blue shirts?
Yes, there's a Christmas. Is it a Christmas photo?
I can't. I mean, no, there's a tree in the background. The one that I see that's a Christmas photo is the one with Sandra Bullock and the actor. I don't see the actual one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Mm.
Well, yeah, that happened. And then also she goes to brunch and her girlfriends is joking on her. Now, mind you, this is the first time that adoption comes up in The Blind Side. So once all of that happens, she's sitting at brunch with her friends after the Christmas card. It's the new year and everything. And her girlfriends is like really bugging on her about
Mhm.
how, she's got this boy in her house. That doesn't worry you that you got this big black boy in the house with your daughter and
Mhm.
all of this. She's not uncomfortable, this, that, and the third. And then she was like, you know what? You might as well go ahead and adopt him. And she quickly responds and says, he'll be 18 in a couple of weeks. It's no sense in adopting. And then her
Mhm.
friends look at her like, "Well, so you've looked
Mhm.
into this?" It was that kind of vibe. And then
Yeah.
she said that they shame on them, because of the things that they were saying about her having this young black man in her house. And she was basically like denouncing their commentary and their jokes and stuff like that. And yes, the boy was big. He's big today. He was definitely big then. I see the comment over here.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah,
he's big. I see Ganja Post say he's ginormous. I wouldn't say he's ginormous. He's 6'4", which is big, but I mean when you think of athletes, he's average for an athlete. Cuz athletes be 6'7", 6'8".
girl,
So, he's big and he's thick and he's solid cuz I think
he's solid. Absolutely was
he was
solid.
like in high school or in college, I think he was like 315 pounds.
Yeah, he was stocky for sure. Not like he
Mhm.
was he was muscular build. But here's the
Mhm.
thing. So remember I was telling you how in the movie they portray him as being a real sucky football player?
Mhm.
So there is before he goes out on the field and proves to them he's sucky according to the movie. The coach when he comes out and he's carrying like all of these beams under his arms and them things is heavy AF, bro. And the coach was like, "Do you know how heavy those are?" And then he says in the movie, "This boy is going to make all of us famous." And
Hmm.
that's what he says to the father, right?
Hmm.
"What's good? What's good, Stan? Welcome, welcome, welcome."
Mhm.
And so he says to him, and then when he gets out there and he's no good, how about the coach then makes the comment, "I put in all of my chips to get him in." And it's like, hold up. And it makes you
Yeah.
refer back to the beginning of the movie where he was like, "Oh, we're Christian and we should help somebody." And then you're going to turn around and say, you put all of your chips in to get
That's
him and
basically
you
what he
couldn't
was saying when
believe.
he was saying we Christian. That's
Right.
basically what he was saying then.
And
Yes,
then he
you did.
says,
Y'all
"Oh, he
y'all
can't play."
saw yeah, to be unpolitically correct, y'all saw this big nigga and said he could be an athlete let's make it happen.
That
Because
part.
now that school is on the map, that school is sought after as producing famous athletes, and I don't now fast now I think he did say in the book that the coach left shortly after he left. After he graduated, the coach left.
The coach got promoted. So here's what happened.
Mm.
So there was that juncture where SJ, which is the little boy, he had been using a camcorder to record Michael practicing and playing in his games. He creates a highlight reel, sends in Michael or the Terminator to all these colleges, and of course, their spidey senses are tingling. All these big burly non-melanated coaches came to the field to see Michael Orr go in.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so when they get there, they're seeing him. They have him do a face off with somebody else. Good evening, other grandma. They have him do a face off between him and another team member, and he smothers this man on the ground. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wait, friend, you made me skip something in the movie. He
Mm-hmm.
rated in the 98th percentile for protective instincts. Why do they mention his stats in that aspect throughout the movie? That was cringy. That was something that was cringy. So they were like, oh, he rated so low in this area for aptitude, this low in this area for aptitude, but he rated in the 98th percentile for protective instinct.
What the heck does that mean?
Because remember, the blind side is the area the quarterback can't see. So that defensive man should be covering the quarterback in that blind space. So if he's got
Oh,
protective
well, I guess
instinct,
that's why they can't mention it in the movie because it backed up the title of the story. Okay.
yeah.
Because
And
my
so
next question was, why is it called The Blind Side?
yeah, and that's why it's called the blind side. And they were like, he's got to be wide in the hips, stocky legs, big hands, big feet, and I'm sorry, and feet as quick as a flea. Okay,
Mm.
so the next thing that happens that's kind of weird is where I told you she met his mom, but then he gets an F-150 and cringy comment loading. I'm sorry in advance, but the father gives him after they're able to get him a license and stuff. He gives him a Ford F-150.
Mm-hmm.
So Leanne says again, this is the movie you're referencing a true to life story. I'm referencing a movie. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
he gives him the F-150, and she says, "Why did you get him a truck? Did Michael even want a truck?" The dad looks at her and says, "Michael thinks he's a redneck."
I'm pretty sure Michael didn't think he was a redneck.
That's what it says in the movie. Michael thinks he's a redneck.
What
Let's
does
see
that
something
even
here.
mean?
It's rare to find a white boy that size in high school too. That's facts. I knew a couple of big non-melanated boys when I was in high school
But
that
were
played
they
different
athletic?
sports.
Were
They
they
did.
athletic?
They played sports. They were definitely one in a million type individuals. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
so but yeah, there
So did
was
they
like
go
two
on
or
to be
three.
professional athletes?
One of them did.
Okay.
One of them went on to play. I don't know how far he lasted, but he was definitely very close friends with somebody else who made the NBA from my high school. So then he gets in an accident. Airbag deploys. He protects SJ. So that's another. There we go. His protective instincts being put on display.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna skip on to the next area where it talks about the coaches that came to recruit. Does he mention being recruited to play during his tenure there with them?
Being recruited to play
Yeah, to play football.
at the high school?
Yeah, while he was in high school, being recruited to
Okay.
play in
So when
college.
he was the way the book portrays it, he went into high school. Um the dad tried to get him into the foster dad was trying to get him into the high school, but his GPA was like 0.76.
Right, and they say like point 0.5 in the movie or something like that.
Yes. So what they did was he wasn't allowed to play sports when he first got there.
Right.
He had to get his GPA up. So, but because he loved sports, he always hung around the gym. So he would always be in the gym watching them play basketball. He would be on the field watching them play football, but he couldn't play yet. He had to get his GPA up. Then I think he got it up a little bit, but they gave him a chance. And I don't remember. I don't remember if he was, I think it was JV. I think they let him play for a little bit just to see what he could do, but he couldn't play in the games or he practiced with them or something. But he didn't go right onto the team. He had to prove himself academically. And that is what he talks about the most in this book is academics, education, and how having a good education could open other doors for you. Like this whole book, like when I was listening to everything that's going on in the movie and stuff like that, this book is something totally different.
Oh wow. That's
Hmm.
crazy. So
Yeah.
listen, friend, I'm gonna go ahead and run the commercial real quick. But y'all, when we come back, we're gonna wrap up this conversation, exploring some of the dangers of good intentions, and then we're gonna take a little bit of a turn and share what is pushing us when it comes to this particular topic. So
Hmm.
y'all hang with us, and we'll be right back. What's good, Mindset family? The Melanin Mindset is thrilled to announce we are the newest brand ambassadors for Dianu Apparel. Dianu Apparel is a black owned apparel company that offers trendy African inspired prints in each and every garment. They're offering our listeners 15% off their purchases just by using promo code Melanin Mindset. There's something for him, there's something for her, and there's even something for the kids. So head right over to dianu.com using the description link down below, or just simply enter Melanin Mindset at checkout and save today. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back, y'all. Thank you so much for hanging in there with us. So, listen, as we shared before, we have a new segment coming to the Melanin Mindset where you can submit your questions and receive your answers with no opinions attached. All right, no long term opinions. I'll say it like that attached. No judgment, no finger pointing, no none of that. But we want to hear your questions. So, drop your MFN questions via DM themelanatedmindset at gmail.com or swing over to themelaninmindset.com and leave your questions. All right. We also have actively running a book club. So if you have not gone over to Facebook to check out the MFN book club, where we're wrapping up our 90-day, ooh, friend, I said 90-day, our 30-day for the month of
Hmm.
August challenge, the Tabitha Brown challenge, then you are absolutely missing out. Okay. Become an official MFer by purchasing your Melanin Mindset t-shirt as well. So, friend, just to give a little insight into the MFM Book Club, I am going to go ahead and share my insert for today. And I guess you can go ahead and comment as well. So, y'all, listen, right over there next to Kia's head, you can scan there and join the book club today. All right. Today. So, my excerpt this week is coming from page number 54 of Tabitha Brown's Seen, Loved, and
Love.
Heard Journal, which is partnership with the book. I gotta reach. There it is right there. Feeding the Soul by Tabitha Brown. Y'all, this has absolutely been an enriching journey, and vegan has been it's been a task, but I've gotten used to it at this point. So here
Hmm.
we go. All right. So it says sometimes there's a direct connection between your ability to love ourselves, the ability to love ourselves, and what we truly value in our hearts. In this image of a heart, write or draw at least four of your core values. So, friend, do you have some core values that you would be willing to share? And then I'll give mine.
My core values, like I don't know if I understand it completely,
So it
but
gives some examples on the next page. So
uh-huh.
it says making money, having good relationships, being famous or successful, or
Mm,
being physically healthy.
mm,
And I'm sure you can go beyond that, but those are the examples today.
I definitely have a family core value, like family first, or like to nurture those relationships, family relationships. And when
Mhm.
I say family, that includes my close friends too. Like nurturing those relationships. Um I guess honesty,
Mm.
faith. I'm supposed to come up with one more. I don't have one more right now.
Well, I've got I've got
Mhm.
integrity,
Mhm.
faith. I'm sorry, let's put them in order. Faith, integrity, honesty, and integrity kind of go one and the same.
Mhm.
But then also, I definitely say family ranks extremely high on the list as well. And then too, I guess it's integrity. So I'm gonna stick with integrity because to me, word is bond. So if you say something,
Mhm.
mean what you're saying. So for me, my core
Mhm.
values are absolutely my word, and I feel like I'm really good at when I give my word,
Yeah.
I follow through on my word. And if I don't follow through on my word, I'm explaining myself. Why?
Yeah.
Because I gave my word. And if I gave my word and I can't meet this expectation that I've set, I feel like it's my responsibility. At that point, you don't owe nobody an explanation. But when you make a
Mhm.
promise, once you've
Yeah.
made a promise, I feel like you definitely owe an explanation if you fall through. So my integrity is definitely a big deal. Like I don't let, and those relationships are key too, family relationships and friendship relationships,
Mhm.
because it's awkwardly enough, like I've been saying to you this past week and a half or so. I'm like, it's weird because I look at our friendship like, what the heck? Why do I
Mhm.
let this chick that close to me, bruh? Like, and it's funny to say out loud, but it's for real. Like, why the heck do I let this girl be that close to me? But it's because the form of relationship, it's a healthy place.
Yeah.
It's a safe place. And so I thrive on making my relationships with people in my circle healthy in that
Mhm.
sense. Like, so
Mhm.
those are big parts for me too. So yeah.
Yeah.
So make sure you all plug in with the book club, because if you're not, you're missing out on some of these valuable conversations. So go ahead and join us over there and catch it out, friend. But honey mustard is gonna be the death of me.
Why you say that?
Honey mustard is gonna be the death of me. I went out to eat last night, and I went out to eat yesterday after church, and I put honey mustard on my salad. It is gonna be the death of me, y'all. Honey mustard is honey, not vegan, and there's usually egg of some form in honey mustard. It is not
Mhm.
vegan. Mark, like, stop with the honey mustard, kid.
Top with the honey mustard.
Stop with the honey mustard. And
Mhm.
it's not been an excessive thing. It was just that last episode, I had accidentally put it on my hot dog. And then yesterday I intentionally put it on my salad, and I'm not
Mhm.
gonna lie and say it was accident yesterday, because that was definitely on purpose.
That was
I
intentional.
could have made way worse decisions yesterday, but I didn't. Honey mustard was
Mhm.
the worst of my choices.
Okay.
So yeah, honey mustard gonna be the death of me, friend. I don't know.
No, it's
I don't
not.
know.
Just put the honey mustard down. You can move on.
Step away from
Okay.
the honey
Then
mustard.
let's get back on topic.
Yeah, girl, go ahead. So they wanted him to go to Ole Miss, and I was starting to say that the recruiters came, and one of the recruiters in particular, which is kind of tying back to our topic for today, one of the recruiters said, "Michael, you need us. Why does he
Mm.
need you? He don't need
Yeah,
you.
why would he need you if he got accepted? I got this up on the screen. He got scholarships offered from Tennessee, LSU, Alabama, Auburn, and South Carolina.
He don't need you."
Yeah.
And I mean,
But he went
all
to
of
that school
them.
because that was their alma mater.
Right, and that's what
Do
he
these people
ultimately
have money?
decided. Yes. Okay. So they were boosters, and not the kind of boosters we know, y'all. We know the
I was about to say,
melanated
what you
community.
mean
Y'all know.
boosters? What
Listen, y'all get your head out the melanated lane for just a second. They weren't those kind
okay,
of
okay,
boosters,
because mine was
but they were.
definitely.
Girl, absolutely. I did too. I thought I got frozen when I watched the movie when they said that they were boosters, and I had
What
to
the
say,
heck
hold
is a
up.
booster?
So another type of booster is a supporter, somebody who boosts the success of a thing. So they're pushing the success of the program by
What program?
contributing monetarily. The
Oh,
sports, yeah.
so they invested in this college, I'm
Right.
sure.
So they give monetary
Mm.
boosts to the success and what they need. And so they were some of the
It
primary
sounded real
boosters,
sketchy. It
that
sounded real
part.
sketchy.
So the dad was a star basketball player for Ole Miss. The mom was the cheer captain at Ole Miss. And then also the they not only supported them monetarily, the father did have money because he owned multiple Taco Bell restaurants. So
Mm.
because let's be for real, you open one Taco Bell, you might be making ends meet. But if you got 5, 6, or 7 Taco Bell, sis, bruh, you got a couple of coins, and you can't
Okay,
prove to me otherwise. But that's what the dad
so
had going on monetarily.
let's just recap.
Yeah.
So these well-off, well-to-do white people
Uh huh.
see this little
Big.
disadvantaged black child
Uh huh.
and decide to help him.
Yes.
They gave him somewhere to live.
Yep.
They got him tutors.
Yep. Because his GPA was too
They,
low.
yeah, his GPA was low. They got him tutors so that he can get his GPA up, so that he was allowed to play sports. Like, why couldn't y'all have just got his GPA up for him to be academically successful?
That part.
Why was it to play sports? So I'm gonna summarize this up real quick so we can move on to what we really need to talk about. So okay, he he goes into the NFL. Of course, they so-called help him. He thought he was being adopted, but he was already 18 when they entered into the conservatorship.
No, he was about to turn 18. I don't know that he was 18 already. No.
I think he had to be 18 because how would he have signed off on it?
They said in the movie, remember, I'm referencing the movie. So the according to DCF, they said that he was currently a ward of the state and all that needed to happen was that a judge needed to sign off. That's it. They
Okay,
didn't
so
need
maybe
anything
because
else.
he is probably depending on the state, he was what they call that
A
age of
ward of the
consent
state.
or whatever. But his age mattered too, because you could
Yeah,
be a ward of the state at 10, and who's going to say you could be adopted? You wouldn't enter into a conservatorship. And
facts.
so, wait, do we have a definition of that? The conservatorship.
But I can grab one. Keep talking.
Okay, so it basically means that usually people enter into these if you are in somehow mentally incapacitated and not well enough to take care of your own affairs. So I don't know why that would have been something that they entered into him, especially with him being an adult.
I have the definition. So, a
Go ahead.
conservatorship, it says what happens when typically somebody has a disability or some need to have somebody step in and make decisions for them, whether in their personal life or their financial life. And so it gives that person a great amount of power and right over their own life,
Yeah.
the other person's life. So, in other words, that portrayal in the movie of him being mentally delayed was crucial. It was key
They had
because
to
that
play that to
that
make
backs
them not
up
look like villains.
right, that backs up
But
the
it wasn't
conservatorship.
that he didn't have it wasn't that he was had some type of learning disability. The boy was at a disadvantage. Well, he didn't have nowhere to go home and do homework. He didn't have a stable environment. So sometimes when it's I just need to eat, he talked about that in the book, like trying to make that decision of am I about to steal so I can eat? And when those are the things that are on your mind, you're not thinking about honor roll. Who gives a damn? I need to eat. I need to live. I need to find somewhere to lay my head. So once they got him and put him in a more stable situation, he now was able to, he had tutors. Of course, he's going to need a lot of tutoring. He got a lot of catching up to do because at this point, he's like, what, 16? The part that gets me confused is why the conservatorship. He did not have a disability. Now, in the book, he talks about the concussions from playing football. And
Mm.
now he is starting to have those signs that a lot of NFL players have when we see them and you like, oh, is he a little slow? Yeah, you bash your head around in a game for 8 years and something might it ain't gonna be that clear in your head as either. So he talks about going through that and the injury and how he started not being able to drive because his vision would be distorted, and it was all because of the concussion from playing the game. Now that's after he's already been in the NFL. So what was the purpose of the conservatorship? Because if you're gonna help somebody, you're gonna help somebody.
Right, and that's also in the movie though, where the he goes and the NCAA representative comes to interview him because they got questions like, why is this boy going to Ole Miss? What's going on? Like out of nowhere, they've got this boy, got him tutors, got him in the best school, got him going off to college at Ole Miss. What's happening here?
Mm-hmm.
And the person portraying it in the movie is a black woman, and she says to him, like, so that means that they can go and get other disadvantaged black children, help them get access to resources, and then send them to their school of choice because they were boosters. And that's where all of that was mentioned. They could send them to their school of choice. And then he was like, what? And she says, why would they do all that they're doing? And so, of course, he gets mad and he runs out there and he asks her, like, why did y'all do all of this? And fast forward, the wife, Leanne, ended up speaking with Mr. Tui, and she says to him, well, why did we do this? Would we have
Yeah.
done this for anybody else? And he says, absolutely. That boy had no clothes and he had nowhere to stay. She goes, right. We would have done that for anyone. But why did we pay
Why?
for tutors?
Why are
Why
we
did we
paying for
do
tutors?
this?
Why are we putting him in this? Why do we want him to go to this particular school?
Right.
All of
And
that.
so she says that to him. And then finally she ends up, Michael, of course, got mad and ran away. And then she ends up reconnecting with Michael. And at the end of the movie, she tells him he can go wherever he wants. And he tells the NCAA rep, I want to go to Ole Miss. Oh, she never asked him why. He said, I want to go to Ole Miss because that's where my family goes. And so
Yeah.
that's kind of how the movie ends. And it talks about all his amazing stats and all of these really cringy photos at the end when he gets recruited into the NFL.
Yeah. And
So, but yeah.
something else he mentioned about entering, remember I was saying how he felt like the movie gave people a predetermined, like they knew him. He said when he was going into the NFL, I think he was I don't know sports talk, but whatever. There was somebody else and him.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, both of them ended up on the team, but the other guy got picked first, like with no hesitation. Like, yes, we definitely want him, but we're not too sure about Michael. And the reason was because weren't sure whether he had really earned his way. Like they know the story from the movie, so they was like, well, if he really is slow, and did they do his work for him? Like, did he deserve it? So he had to battle with now feeling like he was handed it. And honestly, as I read the story and read the biographies, I'm like, his GPA didn't come up until he did the classes online.
Mm,
Come on now. We could all get somebody to do our online class.
that part.
So I do understand where the questioning came from, but it came from because of the movie. Because if the movie had never depicted him that way, that wouldn't have been something that the NFL was concerned about.
Right. The movie depicts a couple of really, really, really cringy things about Michael Oher. Now, not to say that those things are facts. The movie is just one perspective of the situation. But yeah, in his situation, looking at his story from the side of his version and the
Mm-hmm.
movie's version, it really does streamline the fact that, like you said, as a nutshell, this was a young African American male who was in the foster care system who just happened to be successful or it headed in a direction of success. And
Like,
then he ends up
would you have done that much for the black child if he was 5'4" and 120 pounds?
probably not. That's why she was questioning herself in the movie. She's like, why did we do this?
Mm-hmm.
Why did we do this? Why did we
And that's
bother?
where, and it all brings us back to this whole white savior complex. Like, why? For him, he was a kid, and I don't think it applies to him in this situation. But them Tuies, it does apply to them because you definitely stepped in, like, dun 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 dun, cape and all.
Girl, there is absolutely a scene in the movie where they talk where she's sitting at the table with her friends
Mm-hmm.
and her friends say, what would your father say? is
Mm,
this is this are you trying to make right the wrongs? And they never say directly, but it implies that her father must have been a severe racist
yeah.
because she even said he's been gone for 10 years and he'd be
Mm,
rolling in his grave if he knew. And
wow.
there's even a scene where they say, who'd have thought we'd have had a black son before we knew a Democrat? Girl, it's a couple of things in this movie that's kind of cringy when they
And
make
that's the
certain
thing, like,
comments.
even with us, period. Like, I have a friend, she says it jokingly, but she'll be like, if it ain't right, if it ain't white. Like, basically talking about like services, because okay, so she had just bought a house and she hired somebody to paint. So first she hired it was a friend's boyfriend or something like that. Oh, he paints, okay, let him come do it. And he came and he painted, and it wasn't a great job. So before let me back up. So before the friend had referred her man, she had already sought out this company that was a non-melanated company, but they
Hmm.
were very popular and very expensive. So she would have had to wait. But of course, the friend's man, he was ready right away. So he comes in, he paints, does a crappy job. Okay, I saw the job. It wasn't top tier, but it wasn't horrible either, in my opinion. I saw the things that needed to be fixed. Like, just it could have been done better. But I don't think it was. So then, of course, she goes back to where she started from. She gets the non-melanated company, and it's just perfect now. I still don't think it's perfect, in my opinion. But because it was them, she said, see, I should have went with them in the beginning. That narrative amongst our people has to die. It really
Absolutely.
does. Because at the end of the day, like, I always tell people, if your people don't care about you, why should I?
That part.
And at this point now, it just seems like, well, especially in this case, like the melanated people just took advantage.
That part.
Like they helped, they definitely helped, but at they and what's the scripture? It's like you reap what you sow.
Mm-hmm.
But if you brag about what you did, then that's your blessing.
Right.
And in this case, had they just helped this young man, the blessing would have been whatever. But they created their own blessing off of this. Like they made sure that they had an
Their
an
recognition, their
an, an
notoriety.
investment that would cause them to have a return with this young man.
Right. And so that ties us back to the exploring the dangers of good intentions. And while it started out as a good thing, they were lending a hand to a child who was absolutely in need. It ended up not being such a great thing. Now, friend, before we head out, I do want to flip the coin real quick, because there can also be a different perspective where we feel as though we are damsels in distress sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
And like how you said with your friend, if it ain't right, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And so it's like I've experienced, and what kind of really fueled me in this conversation I shared with you, where someone received some feedback that they just might be whitewashed. And with that, it's like they looked at it a certain way, but then it's like when you see the bigger picture of the whole situation, it's kind of like a lot of times credit is being gifted to non-melanated individuals in your life, where like it leans more, or it's giving very much so, if it ain't right, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like no recognition or no even acknowledgement or even desire to give support or even push in the direction of the culture. It's the only way that it will be successful, or the only way that anybody can be where they are, is by means of this. And that narrative has to change, because
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be detrimental to us as a people, period. And it's not saying that we can't come together, because that's absolutely what it's going to take. But at the same time, if we can't get the opportunity to join hands, how
Yeah.
are we going to continue to advance? You really have to look at that way, because if it ain't right, is not a way to look at anything.
It's
That's
not.
detrimental to us as a people.
And like I don't know what the whole situation was with that painter, and I always say this too, like even when I get new clients to do their hair, and they're from here, like you've lived here all your life, who was doing your hair before you came here? I always ask that. And if they're like, oh, this girl such and such and such, I was going to her for such and such years, but I don't want to go to her no more because of XYZ. And I always say, does she know that? Like, does the person know why you stopped? Because you're not giving them a chance to rectify.
Right.
So they could essentially, and you got to think about it like this. If I'm a black business and I do something wrong and you don't tell me, and now I continue to do it wrong or offend people and lose customers, now my business is completely dead. Whereas if you had helped me and give me the chance, maybe I could have fixed it. And once I fixed it, I could have grown. If I grow, I'm now creating jobs. I'm now creating opportunities for other people. I'm now able to help the next generation of business owners not make the same mistakes. Say it's bigger than just it's bigger than just cheering for your favorite team. And in this case, the team is the melanated community. You have to understand that our actions are either going to elevate us or bring or tear us down.
Right. And I feel like a previous episode that we discussed, Dan friend, we talked about how you go to Walmart and things don't go your way. You go to Chick-fil-A and things don't go your way. You go to any of these major corporations and things don't go your way.
And
You
you turn
write in
right back
letters,
around and patronize
dear
them.
Mr. Dear Mr. Sir or Madam, I am not okay with this, and this is what happened. And you write in your long Yelp review or your Google review. But when it comes to our community, it is not a review being given. There's no feedback being provided.
Mhm.
If it's a deal breaker for you, you're gone, and that's all there is to it. And it has to stop. That can't perpetuate. Like, even if, like you said, if it's a deal breaker for you, that when I went and got my hair shampooed, they don't ever shampoo the back of my neck, and that irks my soul. I've told her, nothing changed. Okay, I'm moving on to another place. But
That's
at least you
different.
said
That's different.
something.
At least you told that person
You
that
said
that
something.
was
That's
what
your
the
deal
problem was.
breaker. You
Yeah.
know, and even if it's a deal breaker where you're like, okay, you didn't shampoo my neck, I don't feel like I should have to tell you to shampoo my neck. That was a deal breaker for me. Okay, cool,
Hmm.
that means I lost that client, but guess what, I'm not going to lose every client
Yeah.
because I didn't shampoo the neck. You said something to me which is going to make me do different by my future
Now
clients.
I'm gonna
I
make
have to
now make sure your neck and everything clean.
right.
Because I don't want,
Listen,
let's say, I don't want to have people look at my business in a negative nature. So if you let
right.
me know, I will at least try to change it. You know, some people I might have an attitude and be like, you know what, I ain't shampooing nobody here no more. But either way, I got rid of the problem.
That part. And so
Hmm.
it's like if we don't take those 2 seconds that we give to literally everyone else, and again, this is not a division situation, this is just a level the playing field situation. If you're willing to
Hmm.
give feedback one way, I need you to give it both ways. And if
Yeah.
you look at it like if it ain't right, when you deal with somebody who ain't, then make sure you tell them what wasn't right so that you can move on and you go on because they don't want your business. No way.
Yeah.
But
And
at
that's what
least
happens.
they
You
have the
never address that.
chance.
Yeah. You
They
never
have a
address
chance
what
to
the
fix it.
underlying issue is. You're just saying, and a lot of times that stuff is not any better quality than anything else. Just like when you think about all these designer brands, like I don't care what nobody says, Michael Kors bags are the same bags they sold in Payless. They last the same amount of time. You carry it for more than a month, the strings are popping out of the strap. What makes it designer other than this person's name on it?
That's what makes it designer. It's the person's name on it.
Yeah, but that name, and why? Because that name is what? That name is not melanated name.
I don't know, girl. I can't even lie and say I know who any of these designers are. Telfar is pretty fly though. Just saying.
Yeah, and
But
Telfar is melanated. And again, we wasn't supporting them until the queen said something. And speaking of the queen,
oh Lord, friend, go
I
ahead and
got
get
to
your
see the
love.
queen on Friday, y'all. Yes, it is all they hyped up to be. Beyonce killed it. And let me tell you what it is about her. Because it kind of goes with what we're talking about. Like the show, like I can't think of one thing to complain about. Like it is what it is. This is the show. I'm coming out, I'm performing, I am giving you my all, and then it's over. Like that's what it was. Like you got the show of your life, and then like I believe she keeps it that way to keep herself sane, to allot that time that you need to cut out for family is for family. And when I'm performing and I'm giving you all. I that I didn't know the girl could sing that good, honestly, because when I listened to, she sound better than I've ever heard her sound. You know, I'm quick to say you could tell when Beyonce got vocal lessons, because when she first came out, she wasn't hitting them notes like that. It wasn't until around Halo you could tell she got some vocal lessons. But baby, let me tell you, the show hadn't even started. Little graphics came up on the screen. That heifer said Miami, and everybody lost their crap. I lost my crap. Everybody lost their crap. And it was in that moment that I realized why people go to concerts. Because at a concert, everybody there is as excited and hype about this artist as you are. Could you
Facts.
feel, because I can imagine sitting around some people that don't really bop with Beyonce like that. And when that heifer said Miami and I went, ah, they would be sitting there like, what the hell is wrong with you? But no, when I did that, everybody did that. Like
Friend, that's like when we
everybody was
went to
so hyped.
bro, we went to see Lizzo and we was jamming to Lizzo, and it's like you look in front of you, people looking back, you look behind you, they
Because
looking
we
down.
know it's a
We
vibe.
all in
It's
there
like
turned up, we all having a great time.
it's this community that happens, and we need to make that happen everywhere with us.
Right.
Like we need to celebrate us the same way when you at a concert, everybody is like, yes, she could do no wrong in this moment.
Big
And then
facts.
Blue came out, and let me tell you something. Blue, when she first came out, she had that little nonchalant type dance. Blue was a whole dancer in Miami, honey. I don't know if the Miami spice got on her, but she was spicy, girl. She
Mm.
was spicy. Y'all know I got my feet. I got my feet.
I
Don't,
cannot deal.
don't get me heated. Don't get me heated.
Girl, that microphone is micing, friend. Oh my gosh. That's a clip right there. All right,
Yes.
so listen, Linda, listen. We are at the end of our episode, friends. We got to hold on to a little bit more until next week. One thing is, last week we did mention how we said potentially how Beyonce had taken Lizzo's name out of the concert. Honey, Beyonce came to Atlanta and
Definitely.
hollered, "I love you, Lizzo."
Yes, and
Okay?
she definitely still mentioned her this week. She
Yes. Beyonce ain't got no
She
problems with
edited for a
Lizzo.
little bit because something was going on, but no, she mentioned all Solange, Kelly Rowland, Lizzo. They was mentioned. Yes, they were.
Yes, and I shared when we did last episode, I was like, I bet you it was because Erica Badu made the comment about Beyonce's a few of her outfits lining up with Erica Badu's swag.
Hmm.
And that's exactly what it was.
Yeah.
Okay. Everybody's not turning their back on Lizzo. Now listen, Linda, we're gonna keep y'all abreast of what's going on though, because you know we stand up to
Hmm.
date with that story. So
Hmm.
keep your eyes peeled on that one. But make sure y'all are plugged in everywhere that you can plug in. Y'all, you know we'll be back same time next week. And remember, if there's anything you ever want to hear the Melanin Mindset talk about, feel free to drop us a DM because we'll definitely find a conversation that suits you too. Friend, you good?
Okay.
All right, y'all, go be great. Have a good rest of your day. Peace.